everybody. This is your host, Vic. And today, to continue on Clone Calamity, we have the legally distinct Behringer Zentara. It is not a centaur. It is the Zentara, and he has hair. Legally distinct. Anyways, the Behringer Zentara with the Behringer Zentara and the Behringer Zentara and the Behringer on the Behringer and all the Behringers here, and definitely not anything else, is a 3-knob Behringer Zentara, and it does Zentara things. You have the gain, the treble, and the output, and it is considered a clean boost with a slight breakup in distortion once you go and push it hard enough. So, the original tone I was using out of the Roland Gaia 2 was... And then whenever I go and actually use the pedal, it is... Very nice. So, the way we're going to go ahead and put this is we're just going to do the standard using the knobs. So I'll have the output at noon, everything else all the way down, and this is what it sounds like. Not really much I can show there, but of course, as we always do, let's go ahead and see if we can find some noise. So, output's all the way up, and let's start bringing up the gain. Very slight right here. Definitely hear some, but it's not too loud. But when we're hearing it here, usually we'll go ahead and hear it when we bring up the treble. Which we do. So let's see if we can keep the treble all the way up and start bringing the gain a little bit down. It is still very faint on my waveforms as I am monitoring them at the same time. But about right here is when they have zero detection. So it's not the quietest, but it's definitely not the noisiest. Decent. No issue there. So let's go ahead and find another tone, and I'm going to go ahead and do some playing for y'all, and then we're going to go ahead and do the points. So now it's playing the original tone of it. It's just a resonance style of synthesizer, well, patch. obviously. Gave plenty of extra coloration to the sound, along with a good boost there. So, before we get into the points, I do have to mention that this channel is sponsored by DefCloud. They are a small family-run business, and they have many a boutique effect that you usually will not find within bigger stores, as they can cater to much more smaller brands, as bigger stores out there usually have to have like a minimum order place of like, well, we need 100 units, so they can't really get individual builders. So, with DefCloud, you can also see there is also mini sales usually going on. They have synthesizers, guitars, basses, and a lot of audio interface equipment, along with pretty much everything you would need to have fun within the studio, and plenty of fun pedals out there that are very boutique. Me personally, I was a customer of them before they did sponsor me, so I do appreciate them for sponsoring me. Go ahead and support small businesses, and they have a great and very responsive staff there. But back to the video. So let's just go over the legally distinct construction, as the construction of the not Zentara shape is very nice. The plastic on here is decent. The white on these, with my definitely not 6 units of them, because I was making joke videos, were not as uniform as I would like, but at the same time, this isn't the most expensive not Zentara out there. The logo's fine. Everything's painted on here. Like the actual painting and sparkles and all that is fine. That's just a minor gripe about the paint being slightly different on the whites of the knobs. But besides that, I mean, it's a good build. I would give it a very it's decent 4 out of 5. As with every decent build out there, where I'm only taking off points if something is just horrendous, or if I really just don't like a specific part of it. The foot switch is a non-clicky silent foot switch, which is technically good because usually, depending on the brand, as this can matter, it varies brand to brand of which ones they are getting. Non-silent foot switches can usually die a lot quicker than silent ones. It's actually one thing that's actually kind of, funnily enough, famous about the original Klones is that the foot switches are usually the first thing to go, just due to that limitation of the technology of the time. But as it stands right there, for the sound quality, like I said, it's not the least noisy, but it's not the most noisiest. But at the same time, it is a very basic, just Zentara. So a Zentara branded Zentara. It's this, look, the points are the same as the not legally distinct Zentara. So pretty much, but because I can't remember what I gave that one, as I filmed that a while back, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 3.5, and at the same time, the final score will be 3.78258 out of 5. If you only want to pay $75 and get a very decent pedal, I would say this is the ones to go for. Personally, that is my opinion. Having used plenty of these, if you're in that lower budget, so far out of everything that I have filmed and tested, again, this is just out of the current time of filming. If you want to stay on the cheaper range, as in under $100, and still get a decent clone out there, obviously, like Behringer also has, well, under the Behringer umbrella, there is the TC Electronic Zeus drive, which I believe was only about $40 something, depending on where you look around. Sometimes you can find it on sale. And then if you want to go even cheaper, there is other Chinese brands out there besides Behringer, such as like the Sonic Cake Trio Rider. That was pretty good, and you get multiple voices out there. The Tone City Bad Horse was only like $45 too, but that one usually is not going to be in many stores. You're mostly stuck with, I believe, Reverb and eBay, so it depends on the seller you go through with that one. And then, of course, you have the Cowline pedals. I think the Medusa is discontinued. I think, because that one was a lot more expensive than what I wanted to pay for it. But the Pegasus is still out there, and that was surprisingly quiet, even though there was that little weird scrubby gain part, and that was in the 30s. And trying to see if I can remember. Like the Electro-Harmonic Soul Food, that one wasn't too expensive. I believe I paid about 75 to 80 for that one. The Nux Horseman, you can get that usually around 65 to 75. And that's about all I can remember at the time of filming. I know I've reviewed probably plenty more that were very cheap, but that's the only ones that really could come off the top of my head from what I've already filmed. And again, if you want to keep the cheap, again, this is a very decent one, and it looks nice, at least in my opinion, even though it's the legally distinct version, and I have both. This is a nice looking one. It feels solid. It's Behringer. Never the best, but not the worst. But anyways, this has been your host, Mick. Go ahead and like the video if you like the video, or just like the video anyways, as it does help with whatever the creature that we call the algorithm is. Go ahead and leave a comment if there's any clones you think I haven't found yet. As of filming, I have over 80 of them. This is going to be a very long series, so also share the video around if there's anyone that you know that would like clones and synthesizers, along with going over a very extensive amount of Klon, Zentara, and clone knowledge. It's a fun series, and I would welcome everyone else to participate and join in along with watching it. But once again, this has been your host, Mick. Subscribe for more. Bye.